Welcome to another episode. I'm your host of the Saint-Gerard, and the whole purpose of putting these videos together is to make sure you get some value wherever you are, whether in your real estate service needs or anything else. I want to make sure that we always give you everything that you need. So my special guest, I'm going to let him introduce himself.
My name is Zubin Kapadia. I'm the owner of Right at Home, which is a home care agency in Queens and Nassau County.
Tell us a little bit about the company. Why did you pick that name? Why? Just why altogether?
Yeah, sure. So Right at Home is a national franchise. It has over 600 units in the United States and a few hundred overseas. In the United States, in the New York City area, I am the owner of four of those units, which cover Queens and Nassau County. I got involved with home care because I was inspired when I was caring for my father, who in the last chapter of his life had a significant number of cardiac issues. And then subsequently, caring for my mother, who's in the early stages of dementia. I saw firsthand how hard it is to find trusted, compassionate help. It is a challenge for everyone around the country. And our approach at Right at Home is that we're person centered, culturally sensitive, and family oriented. We don't just provide care, we partner with the family. We're deeply rooted in the community so we can connect with families with broader support.
I love everything you just said, and it is really important, especially when people are selling homes, buying homes. They have this stuff going on. Life is happening in the background always. And so something like this basically is something I think people should know about if they need the assistance. So my next question for you is, what are some of the myths that people still believe about home care, and what's actually true?
Yeah, so the biggest myth is that home care is only for the very sick or dying. In truth, what home care is about staying independent. As we age and, human beings now are living longer than ever in the history of mankind. So we are living longer, but the real question is, are we living well? Are we living better? Are we living quality, meaningful lives? And so home care is about providing some independence, helping you stay healthy, helping you live a meaningful last chapter. It's also about being proactive. It's not about waiting until you're sick. How do you be proactive so that you can improve the quality of your life? You want to be healthy in your old age. You want to be able to walk. You want to be able to communicate with your family, enjoy socialization, and be around friends and family. So home care provides that type of support that allows you to do that.
Insightful. What are some of the signs that a senior loved one might need more help than we anticipated? Can you give us some examples?
Sure, there can be some subtle signs like if you go over and you find that the fridge is empty or it's full of expired foods. Perhaps your loved one is missing medications, forgetting to take them, or missing certain sequences. Perhaps they are not as hygienic as they once were, not bathing as often, wearing the same clothes. You might find a lot of clutter in the house. A lot of seniors will start to, they might have been organized when they were younger, but now are less careful about that or less cognizant of that. When it comes to health, some of the emotional signs are personality or mood changes. You might find people getting frustrated early on. You might find that they are angry at certain things that maybe that didn't bother them before. Of course, with dementia, you see a lot of forgetfulness. You see people who no longer can remember where or who someone is or where they are or maybe where they place certain things. So typically, as children or as loved ones, we will tend to brush those things off. We'll say, oh, they're just a normal part of aging. But the key is trust your instincts. The small red flags really matter here.
You touch on a lot of things. As we're talking, I'm actually remembering some of my own experiences with my grandmother. She was getting irritable towards the end, the last stage of her life, basically, and we started noticing what you mentioned: the red flags, forgetfulness, forgetting who people were, and things like that. So, luckily, we had people at the house, so we had staff that came in that would sit with her while everybody was at work and stuff like that. And my mom, God bless her soul, took time off basically to take care of her as well. So some people basically you have the family the whole family jumps in, basically dives in to help out, and then you also have your service to help out as well.
Correct. And as I pointed out earlier, the key is if you notice those red flags early and you're able to be proactive, you may spot things and head them off. You may spot physical or cognitive issues earlier and prevent a larger problem from emerging. Common, we understand when it comes to physical issues, for instance, cardiac issues. Just take that as an example. If you're short of breath frequently, walking upstairs or walking down the hall, or just doing simple things, you would go to a doctor and hopefully get diagnosed, get evaluated. And if there is something wrong, the doctor would treat it. Well, in the same way, if you start to notice these other things that I mentioned, that the home is not being kept in order, or the personality or the mood changes, now you might be heading off some other issues that the senior is facing. So that's really the key is with all of these things is trying to be more proactive and not taking them lightly because sometimes the decline can be pretty rapid.
Yeah, I've seen this because I've been doing this for quite a while. I've seen this basically when I'm dealing with clientele, they want to sell the parents' home, and we start asking questions because we want to dive deep to make sure that this is the right move for them and their family. So as we're talking to them and we're talking to the seniors, they might express certain things like the stuff that you just mentioned. They might express some of the things that might be harder for the person to climb upstairs and stuff like that, or they just we try to be respectful. Obviously, we want to make sure everybody has their dignity when we're having a conversation with them. But we usually we're frank when we're speaking to the sellers, especially with the kids are there, basically, just to find out what exactly is happening, what's going on. Let's put everything on the table. That way, we can better assist you and stuff like that. So I like this conversation where it's going because I'm at that age. I'm Generation X. A lot of us were caring for our parents, and some of us have kids also. So we're in the middle. We're taking care of everybody. So sometimes it's easier either to bring mom or dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever it is, into your home, and then you find a service like yours to help out and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The vast majority of people want to stay home. AARP estimates that about 90% of Americans want to age in place. They don't want to go to assisted living or a nursing home. And the reason is for what you said, Evans, is that it's about being in the community. It's about being with family, and they're scared to be isolated. Now, there is certainly a time and a place where someone may need assisted living or may need a nursing home, and there's no denying that. But in the vast majority of cases, people want to age in place. And as they reach that stage, and for everybody it's different, right? Some people age faster than others and may reach that stage in their 70s. Some people it's the 80s, or some people it's their 90s. But as they start reaching that stage, you hit on a few key points. Is the home currently suitable for them? Because sometimes they might be in a suburban or rural community in a large home with acreage and maybe, multiple floors. And now it's either husband and wife, or maybe just one of the spouses is alive. And then you have to start asking, can they take care of the home? Can they get up and down the stairs? Are the bathrooms safe? Are the floors safe? Can they maintain the home and maintain their routine? In some cases, the answer is yes, and maybe it requires some modifications to the home, lighting, staircase modifications, bathroom modifications, rails, bars, etc. And sometimes it requires downsizing. So we've experienced all the above with our clients, and it's very unique. Everyone has to answer that question for themselves. There's no one size fits all when it comes to making these tough decisions. But the most important thing, I think, one of the most overlooked things is the emotional impact of leaving the family home. I think we often think about all the legal, financial, logistical, and care issues. We forget that that may be a very emotionally difficult decision for the individual.
With that in mind, we always have the conversation with pretty much everybody involved. If mom and dad are cognizant and they can have part of the conversation, we always try and include them in the conversation to see where everybody's at, and financially does it make sense to downsize or to maintain what they have to do. What's some of the biggest mistakes that you see that families make, and how can they avoid them?
I think some of the biggest mistakes are waiting too long. You wait for a crisis before you start care. Go back to the cardiac issue example. If you wait for a heart attack before you start taking care of your body, it's probably too late, right? Especially if you're older. Yes, you can then start exercising and eating better. But if you start eating better and exercising from a young age, naturally you can prevent that. So with seniors, it's trying to avoid, um, waiting for crisis and trying to, do it retroactively. And that's why, as I said earlier, if you can spot the issues early, if you can plan. So one of the things that we do is advise families on how to get ready for aging. And aging requires a lot of planning, right? It requires financial planning, legal planning, medical planning, and as we started to talk about where you're going to live, sort of your home. They're tough conversations, but if you have a loved one who's aging and maybe they're in, let's say, their 70s, start having those conversations now. They're difficult conversations at times, particularly when your loved one may be very independent and not want to share a lot of details about their money or their lifestyle or where they want to live or things like that. But be patient, have those conversations early, and try to get ahead of the curve so that if and when something does happen that affects their health, you're prepared.
I love everything that you said. I can't even top what you said pretty much. All the time that we've been doing these videos, especially when it comes to this kind of subject, I always preface this to everyone, pretty much have the conversations now. Don't wait till it's too late. Because when it's too late, you're scrambling. You already have a lot of situations, a lot of things in front of you that you're dealing with. You don't need to have an added thing when this could have been had you had the conversation. It's something that's okay. We know we have a plan. We know exactly what to do with this. Now we can deal with other things. This is already, we know what to do with this. Just press the button and get this going. My next question for you: can you share a memorable moment where you helped a family through a life transitional process like this?
Sure. I mean, we have a lot of examples, but I'll give you one. So about a year and a half ago, we took on a client, which is a family based here in Queens, New York, and the father has significant cognitive issues as well as significant physical issues, and there's a son and a daughter involved. The son lives in the South and the daughter lives here in New York. There's a care manager on the case and there was an elder care attorney on the case. They came to us after working with or trying to work with several different home care agencies, and it was very, very challenging for them. We took the case on, began coordinating with all the parties involved, as I mentioned, the attorney, the care manager, the medical providers. And it's a 24/7 case. So we're providing caregivers around the clock. And that means putting 5 to 6 caregivers on the case per week. And we have now had that client for a year and a half. His condition naturally is declining. His cognitive issues are getting worse, but that's part of the disease itself that he has. However, we've been able to work with the family to the extent that we are providing weekly reports. We are assisting in every aspect of this gentleman's life, bringing the family at ease with their father's condition, allowing them to communicate. Even the son in the South, we have him on an iPad every day, talking to the father, communicating about what he ate, how his day went, and so forth. And it's that level of sort of 360 communication and coordination that's allowed us to work closely with the family and given the family peace of mind and comfort. Everyone knows that this is his last chapter. Everyone is aware that, it's not forever, but giving him some comfort, giving him some joy in his day to day routine, and keeping him as fit as possible so that he can enjoy his days. And when I think about cases like that, it's the reason that I got involved in the business, and any good professional in this space will get involved. It's seeing the smile on his face, on his children's faces. And that's really what it's all about.
Being what you said, I have to add one little piece. Have you ever partnered with like a realtor, like such as myself, to help facilitate the conversations with the family and helping them basically make the transition much smoother? Kind of like what you said with the siblings being in another state and things like that.
Yes, yes, and we work often with realtors because, as I mentioned earlier, there's often some real estate decision that has to be made, and it's about coordinating and timing the move. So recently, we had a move of of an individual, a woman that lived in a family home in a larger setting, and she was transitioning to an apartment in Long Island City. She, once again, overnight case. We take care of her around the clock, and very important to the son in this case that there be very little disturbance in his mother's routine, keeping the same caregivers on the case as possible, making sure that she felt comfortable with the move, taking her and you mentioned this earlier, Evans, that communicating with her. Now she also has cognitive issues, and oftentimes you think, well, maybe they don't understand what you're saying, or they'll get upset, and so forth. And it, it could be true that they are, dealing with some issues and may not understand the full scope of the move. But it is important to try and communicate with them, bring them into the decision making, if you will. And so all of this was done in advance. The move went very smoothly. The mother is enjoying her new home, and we couldn't be happier, as well as the son in this case.
All right. With that being said, what's the best way for somebody who's watching this, whether they're thinking about selling, relocating, or helping the parents? How can they reach you to get more contact information, more information in general? And my next question after that is, how many languages are spoken by your staff?
So, to answer your first question, you can call us. Our telephone number is 516-513-100, or you can check out our website. We have two different sites. One is RAH, stands for Right at Home, rahqueens.com, and rahlongisland.com. It's where you can find all the information that you need. And no pressure here. We will take calls to help you make a decision, explore your options. If you just have questions about how to pay for care, how to find resources in the community, we are available. And sometimes clients will call us, not need home care right now. We'll give them some guidance and support. Give them, we have a lot of preferred providers in the community. Refer them to realtors, refer them to lawyers, refer them to CPAs or care managers. And later down the road, they may come back to us and say, hey, it's time for care and so forth. We're happy to do that.
One last thing I want to ask you is, what's one piece of advice that you can give somebody who's watching this right now, who's thinking about care and real estate needs for their loved ones?
Bring your loved one into the conversation and start early. We talked about this a few times during this podcast. That's the best thing you can do. You may not have all the answers right now, but start having that dialogue. Reach out to experts in the community and, and take it one step at a time. If you plan it now, it won't be stressful down the road.
I couldn't say it better myself. Thank you so much. Well, I'm Evan Saint-Gerard. I just want to say thank you for all of you for watching this. When it comes to this kind of care, reach out to Zubin and his team. For real estate needs, you need to sell the property after you've spoken to him, and then you're settled with that, and you need to sell the home just to make mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever it is, more comfortable. And we can help you with that because we do that. That's what we do all day long. You can reach me and my team. I'm Evan Saint-Gerard. 917-975-5985. Our website is mynyhomesales.com. I'm sorry, I'm a New Yorker. I do talk fast, so I'll slow it down for you guys. mynyhomesales.com. And that number again is 917-975. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. And my screen name, pretty much on everything, is Evans Sells Homes. And that's it for me. I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, would like to get more details, feel free to reach out to either myself or Zubin and his team. Thank you again for watching.
Thank you, Ed.